Mr. Inomata, you have been working with your team on the input-output analysis of the region, the International Input-Output Table in particular. What is it all about and what are the objectives? Since when does this project exist?
Well, actually, maybe before I explain about international input-output analysis, maybe a bit of description about input-output analysis itself. Well, basically, IO input-output analysis or IO analysis uses IO table, and IO table is indeed a kind of map of an economy in which all the flows of transaction of goods and services are very neatly described and using the transaction values between industries. Okay, so basically it is used for the analysis of industrial linkages within a certain economy. Okay, now the international input-output analysis is the international version of national IO analysis. And basically it is, well, the international IO table is just a patchwork of each national IO table using them as a parts. But so everything that can be done with national IO table can be also done at international level using this international IO table. So our project, Asian International Input-Output Project, it started more than 40 years ago. So we've been doing this for last 40 years. And basically our purpose is to provide the data, coherent and harmonized data of Asian International IO table for 9 Asian countries plus United States. Okay. So by using this data, there are a lot of applications, but there are several which are most important for us. The one is the analysis of production linkages or network analysis, or say, vertical division of labor between countries. That's one very important aspect. And another one is economic integrations. As because we can estimate or evaluate production linkages between industries and also between countries. We can actually examine the level of integration within a certain region.
Thank you. And what did the 2008-2010 crisis change?
Well, first of all, the impact of the crisis, we did some simulations using our Asian IO data. And basically, we found out that, basically we try to identify the shock transmission mechanism within the Asia-Pacific regions. And there we found out a clear structure in this mechanism such that United States purchase a lot of goods from China, but as I said, China's export to United States has a lot of import contents from other Asian countries. Okay, so this is this kind of triangular trade structure is the major mechanism of development for the last few decades in this Asia-Pacific region. Now, of course, under the crisis, the opposite picture is also possible. When the USA, when its consumption demand collapsed, definitely it has a huge impact on Chinese export to U.S. market, which further reduces China's import demand for other Asian countries. So this kind of transmission mechanism is clearly identified in our analysis, and accordingly, this U.S. origin impact has very quickly and widely transmitted to the Asian regions for the last few years.
What impacts do your findings have for Western interests in Asia?
Well, this triangular trade structure triangular trade through China, I think this is the major picture that most of the foreign investors or MNC had in their mind. Okay? China, in which China being regarded as just an assembler of goods. I mean, the assembler of the parts and components imported from other East Asian countries, and then export final consumption goods to not only US but also European countries as well. So I think so for most of the MNCs regarded China as just an assembly base. And I mean, typical example is like, export processing zone or EPZ. Okay, so a lot of investment goes into this EPZ, and of course it's one of the major policy of Chinese government so far. Now, what happened after the crisis? Obviously, because of the collapse of U.S. demand or EU demand as well, I think we cannot assume this model of triangular trade as it was. Yep. Certainly, this final consumption goods has the destination of final consumption goods has to be sought in other places than US or EU. That's one thing. And another thing is, there's a rapid increase in labor cost in China. So, obviously these foreign investors cannot benefit from putting the factories in China just for making exported goods. Yep, it's going to be much more costly than before. So these strategies so far has to be replanned in some way. So in which way? I think that first of all, the goods to be produced has to be more inward-looking rather than export-oriented. And in the last few years, Chinese government injected enormous money into the development of infrastructure in inland regions. So maybe there's no reason that MNC try to benefit from that shift in Chinese government policy. So more inward-looking than more export orientation. And also, our recent analysis revealed that China started to produce more intermediate goods, which is generally considered to require more advanced production skills. So the point here to be made is China is no longer a mere assembler of parts and components. Okay, it really started to shift to the next technological profile. So MNC certainly has to respond to these changes very quickly. China is very quick in picking up these technologies. So obviously, any foreign investor has to be aware about it.
Thank you very much for these insights. And for you, what would be the future of economic integration?
There's very interesting changes after the crisis. For the last few decades, of course, the cross-national interdependencies between countries within the Asia-Pacific region has deepened significantly. There's no doubt about it. So in a sense, integration is on the way. Okay, but the form of integration, actually so far, our assumption is the integration in Asia is more kind of vertical compared to the horizontal integration for EU economies. Okay? So the vertical integration is our basic model is what we call flying geese model. Yep. In which the Japan flies on the top. Flies in the front, and other needs countries, Korea, Taiwan follows, and the rest again follow, even at the rear side of their this cluster. So this was the model that we have thought up until now before the crisis. But since crisis, I think there's a bit of change happening, and of course one of the reasons is the emergence of China, and it's as I said, it's started. I mean, it's advancement of technological profile. It really disturbs these flying geese models and may, well, I think, dismantle that model in near future. So we are kind of shifting more towards the horizontal integration rather than vertical integrations, more closer to the kind of EU model. And now the concern is what the implication of this new form of integration. Flying geese model assumes that Japan going on the top. So if that structure is dismantled, Japan might be kicked out of this future protection system in East Asia. Obviously, I mean, China's dominance would be inevitable. So Japan might find no place in this movement. So again, the future direction of Asian integration is flatter and more self-sufficient within emerging economies, and but still more integrated than before. So that's